Okay, great, great. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and happy Earth Month. Thanks for being here today. We have a great presentation right in alignment with Earth Month. The topic is Plant Power, a delicious dive into plant-based meals. So throughout today's session, you're welcome to use a chat to make comments, ask questions related to today's topic, and we'll have some exciting announcements at the end for all of you. Please make sure that you mute to minimize any background noise. And before we get started, I'd like to thank our Eat Well subcommittee co-leads, Professor Carrie Kreutzer with the USC Leonard Davis School of Gerontology and Keck School of Medicine, who's here today. You'll probably see her in the chat, and our presenter, Lindsay Pine, dining dietitian with USC Hospitality. And on behalf of our group, we're really excited to continue Eat Well Bites monthly to provide you with practical tips, tools, resources to improve health and quality of life through nutrition and healthy eating habits. And thanks to our Eat Well subcommittee members that you see listed on the slide. And as always, a reminder to feel free to stand, stretch, move anytime during today's session. And now I'd like to introduce our presenters for today. It is my pleasure to introduce my colleague and co-lead of Eat Well, Lindsay Pine, dining dietitian with USC Hospitality. And with her is Chef Rashard Purnell, assistant kitchen manager with the USC Village Dining Hall. And with that, I'll turn it over to Lindsay.
All right, thank you so much. Happy Earth Month, everyone. I think this is a really fitting topic for April because eating more plants is good for our bodies and the planet. So let's get started with a couple of poll questions. So first up, what do you find most challenging about adding more plant-based foods to your diet? Lack of knowledge about options, difficulty in meal planning, maybe concern about getting enough protein, not sure how to make it taste good, or no challenge, you already eat plant-based. So it's looking like the winner here is, oh, interesting, concern about getting enough protein and not sure how to make it taste good. Okay, very interesting. So next poll question. Oh, Suzanne, you have that coming up? Oh, here we go. What motivates you most to explore plant-based eating? Are they the health benefits, environmental impact, animal welfare, curiosity about new foods, or something else? Okay, overwhelmingly, this seems to be the health benefits here. Little bit environmental impact and animal welfare, but mostly health benefits. Okay, great. That was very interesting information. Okay, so next slide, please. All right, so first off, I want to say that I'm not vegan. I'm not saying that you need to be vegan either. I just want you to eat more plants, whatever frequency that means for you. Since there's no global uniform meaning for the term plant-based, for today's webinar, we're going with the definition that's similar to vegan, but not quite as strict. So we're talking no animal products, so no animal meat, eggs, or dairy. And we're going to focus on including veggies, fruits, grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. I want to briefly mention the why before I spend most of my time on the practical how. So plant-based diets, they have health benefits, such as it's great for our digestive health because eating a variety of plants increases the diversity of good bacteria in our gut microbiome. There's also reduced risk of heart disease, some cancers. Plants fight inflammation in our body, so all sorts of great benefits. And then also planet Earth gets benefits too. Plants have a much lower greenhouse gas and water footprint than raising animals. They require less land than raising animals, and also there's less biodiversity loss as well. And if you wanted to delve more into the why, definitely check out a fantastic webinar titled Healthy Planetary Diets. That's in the Eat Well library that was given back in spring 2024 by Kayla De La Haye, and you can watch it at any time. Next slide, please. Okay, so how the heck do you get started on incorporating more plants? So first off, find some inspiration from plant-based cookbooks and recipes. There's so much info online. And at the end of this webinar, I have a slide with some great resources. Start small. That could look like maybe going plant-based one day a week, maybe one meal a day. If that's even too much, start decreasing the quantity of meat in your dishes. Think of it more as a seasoning rather than the star of the show. And make the star of the show the veggies, the grains, legumes, tofu, jackfruit. Start with those ingredients when building your dish. Also, make sure your pantry and freezer are stocked with go-to items that will allow you to whip up a dish. So things like canned tomatoes and beans, frozen fruits and veggies, and those are just as nutritious as fresh. Whole grain pastas, herbs, spices, you get the idea. It's also important to eat a variety of foods to ensure you're getting a range of nutrients. And if you are going full vegan, there are some nutrients that you'll want to pay more attention to. Those are going to be things like iron, B12, vitamin D, calcium, and omega-3s. And you might even need to supplement with B12 and algae omega-3 supplements, but that's something you'll want to discuss with your doctor or dietitian further. Next slide, please. Okay, so keep it simple. If we make anything in life too complicated, we're going to give up. So keep it simple. Also, take your favorite dishes like tacos, chili, stir fries, pastas, pizzas, easy dishes that you can tweak. Just remove the meat to make them plant-based. Also utilize those gadgets in your kitchen, like the slow cooker. That's a gadget I love because it's so easy to make really great plant-based stews in there. If you've got your Instapot, your air fryer, those work great as well. Also, don't assume all plant-based foods are healthy. French fry is still a French fry, even though it may technically be vegan. And those ultra-processed foods, they may still contain a large amount of things like saturated fat, sugar, and sodium. And then finally, get inspired by going to a plant-based restaurant. In LA, we are so lucky to have so many fantastic restaurants. A few I've mentioned here, like Crossroads Kitchen, Gracias Madre is one of my favorite, Cafe Gratitude, Follow Your Heart Market. And if anyone has any favorites of their own, throw those into the chat so we can share with the group. I see, Julie, you also love Gracias Madre. That restaurant's really good. Next slide, please. Okay, so seems like a lot of people were concerned with protein, so I'm glad I put the slide in there. I just wanted to give you an example of amounts of protein that various plant-based foods have, because there are some people who think you can't get enough protein from plants, which just, it's not true. A well-planned plant-based diet can get you the amount of protein your body needs, which is going to be based on individual factors like age, weight goals, and activity levels. And you don't need to combine certain foods, as was suggested back in the 1970s. As long as you eat a variety of foods throughout the day, you will get complete protein with those essential amino acids that you need. Next slide. Okay, so I know everyone's asking in their head, but what about those fake meats? Are they good? So I believe that we should try to make our first choice whole foods like beans, legumes, grains, veggies, whole soy foods like tofu. These foods actually contain beneficial nutrients like fiber, vitamins, phytonutrients. And I put a few brands of veggie burgers that I recommend that actually contain those ingredients that I just mentioned, or I'm sorry, those ingredients and nutrients. So with the meat analogs, they can be a good nutrition transition product if you're a meat eater and you like the taste of meat. And they're probably a better option in terms of planetary health as well. However, these products are not made with whole foods usually, and you can actually have more saturated fat and sodium in them than real meat. And when it comes to marketing on the front of the package, you can pretty much ignore it. It's there to sell you a product. Like that one says burgers made from plants. There are no whole foods in there. The better information is always going to be back on the back of the package when you read the ingredient list. Next slide, please. I often get asked about ideas for plant-based breakfast, so wanted to give you a few ideas here. You're going to be getting these slides later, so you can refer to these after the webinar. So I'm just going to highlight a couple. And one of my favorites is toast. There's so much more out there than just avocado toast. You can really load up whole grain bread with toppings, with spreads like hummus. And if you want to go savory, you can add veggies. I love adding kimchi on top, a sprinkle of seeds, and you've got a really filling breakfast. Also, with eggs being so expensive right now, perhaps try making a scramble by sauteing some crumbled tofu or smashed chickpeas, maybe combine the two, add some herbs and spices, and you've got a great breakfast. Next slide. Okay, so with this bowl formula here, I love it. It's one of the easiest and tastiest ways to make a plant-based meal. I've given you some ideas here for veggies, grains, protein, sauce, and toppings. Protein options can include things like cooked beans, chickpeas, edamame, tofu, tempeh. Tempeh is just a fermented soy product, and seitan is actually made from wheat protein. And then, of course, if you like the plant-based meats, you can use those as well. Next slide, please. Okay, it's okay to get a little help from convenience foods, and I chose Trader Joe's because we have one right next to campus, and it's a super popular place to shop. And they've got some really great products there. And if you have any products that you really love, throw those into the chat so everyone can see. I love just that they have so many cooked beans, lentils, pre-cooked whole grains. If you haven't tried their super firm tofu, it's fantastic. It doesn't come waterlogged, so it's really firm and you don't really need to press it. And there's just so many sauces, spreads, even vegan ravioli, falafels, just a lot of options. Next slide. So I wanted to give you some just brainstorming ideas for quick and easy meals using some convenience products. One item that I love working with are those tubes of polenta, prepared polenta, where you can just slice and saute it. Top it with some sauteed kale, white beans, pine nuts, marinara sauce. You've got a great, easy dinner. Also wanted to point out the frozen edamame that you can get at Trader Joe's and the regular grocery store. Such a great item to eat not only as a high protein snack, but also to add to stir fries and salads. I add edamame to everything, even dishes with animal protein. Next slide. So finally, I wanted to give you some resources, but I want to point out my absolute #1 resource when it comes to anything plant-based is going to be Sharon Palmer. She's a registered dietitian, a cookbook author, and she is also vegan. She has great recipes and nutrition info on her website, including a Go Vegan toolkit, if that's something you're interested in exploring. And also on her Instagram page a few days ago, I noticed she posted a recipe roundup for 25 beginner vegan dinners. So that might be a good place to stop to get some inspiration. So now I am going to stop talking. I'm going to pass it over to Chef Rashad, who's going to show you how to make some delicious and easy plant-based meals.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Chef Rashad. I work here with Dining Services at the University Village Dining Hall. Today we'll go through a couple of quick recipes. We have a dirty vegan chili with a base of lentils and sweet potatoes. And then we also have a quinoa crusted tofu, which is a great protein that can be used in several different ways. So for right now, I'll start with the vegan chili. Where we'll start with that is we'll use a soup pot. We'll use a little bit of oil. You can use olive oil, a nice blended oil, which is canola and olive oil, or your preference of oil, grapeseed oil, several different options. So you'll start with your aromatics. You have a yellow onion here, some minced garlic, some diced jalapeno, and some green peppers, just to give it a little bit of color. So we'll start with the onions here. Let those saute until they become a translucent color. Then you'll add in your green bell peppers and your diced jalapenos. Let those work for a little bit until you start getting the aroma from it, because these are your base aromatics. From there, you'll add in your minced garlic. You add those in last to keep your garlic from burning. If your garlic burns, it becomes a bitter flavor. So you'll let those work for a little bit. And once the water releases from the onions and all of those, you'll add in your spices. What we have here is a chili powder, which is, of course, the base spice for your chili. You also have some cayenne pepper, some ground cumin, some smoked paprika, just to give it that smoky flavor, and then, of course, your salt, just to add in some of that flavor. So you'll let those work in with your aromatics, just so you get a nice flavor. And then from there, you will add in your diced tomatoes. I add in your diced tomatoes first, just to let those work, incorporate the flavor of the aromatics as well as the spices. You'll let those work, and then from there, you'll add in your vegetable stock. Add in the vegetable stock, and then immediately after that, mix in your tomato paste. You want to add your vegetable stock first to keep your tomato paste from sticking and burning. You'll want to mix that in until you get a nice consistency and let that raise it to a boil from there. After you get that to a boil, you'll add in your lentils and sweet potatoes. I like to use lentils and sweet potatoes. The lentils give it a nice bite. And then your sweet potatoes just gives a extra flavor to it. So I use those as the base, as a replacement for the meat. So you let those work, you'll drop, once you add these in, you'll lower your heat down into a simmer and let those work. Takes about 15 to 20 minutes. You want your sweet potatoes to be tender, but still not raw in the middle. And then you want to make sure that your lentils are fully cooked, where they will expand. And you want to make sure that those are cooked from there. You want to add more salt or more spices as needed until you get a nice flavor. And your finished product will look like this. You can garnish it with chives, vegan cheddar cheese, some green onions. You can also put this over rice just to make a quick dinner. Doesn't really take too long. I think you can get this done in about 30 to 45 minutes. It's actually really good. I enjoy it. You can add some extra heat to it by using more jalapenos or, using some extra cayenne pepper. So it gives it a really nice flavor, and, it's a really quick and easy dinner. All right. And then from there, we will go into the quinoa crusted tofu. I like this dish because it's very versatile. You can use it in several different ways. Very easy to make. You can do it in the oven. You can use it in the air fryer. Several different ways you can do it. So in order to start with that, you'll take your block of tofu. I use super firm tofu because it doesn't hold as much water. You don't have to press it, release all that excess water. From the block, all you have to do is slice it, and you're able to start on the process of making this quinoa crusted tofu. So for that, I'll take some all-purpose flour. There's also several different starches that you can use for this. You can use rice flour, potato starch, cornstarch, several different ways. If you have a gluten allergy, celiac disease, several different replacements that you can use for all-purpose flour. So with that, start with that base. We have some white pepper, some onion powder, and some granulated garlic. I do like to use white pepper just to keep that consistent color. These are all light colored spices, so it'll mix well into the flour or cornstarch, although it will still give it flavor. So I just dump those in, mix those in. You can use a whisk, you can use your hand. I use, a glove hand, of course. And that will be some of your base flavoring for when you go with the quinoa crusted tofu. So you want to separate 3 different bowls or plates or sheet trays, whatever you're using, for the dredging process. So first you have that flour mix. I use some egg replacer. I like to use egg replacer because it holds a little bit better and it gives it a nice crunch to it. However, you can also use plant-based milks. You can use a soy milk, almond milk, to just kind of replace it if you don't want to use that egg replacer. But I personally like using it. Makes it fairly easy. All you do is mix the egg replacer with some water, and that is your base. And then from there, we have some cooked quinoa here. The big thing about this quinoa is you don't want it to hold too much water, because if it holds too much water, you won't get that nice crisp on it. You won't have that crunch. So how I do it is I slightly lower the ratio of water to quinoa when you're cooking it, whether you're boiling or steam it. There are several different ways to make this quinoa, but make sure that you lower the ratio of water to quinoa. You want it to, not hold too much water, but still be cooked and bloomed all the way. So those are your 3 ingredients for doing the crust on the tofu. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the tofu. It will still have a little bit of water, but not have the water on the inside of it. So you'll take that, coat it in the flour, you know, make sure you get it on all sides, has a nice coat of flour or cornstarch on it. And then from there, you will have your second bowl of the egg replacer. You want to make, or the milk. You want to make sure that it is covered fully, you know, has it on all sides, but don't want it to hold too much of the egg replacer or milk, because that will just drown out the quinoa and then you won't be able to get it to stick. Then from there, you just want to coat it in the quinoa. Big thing about using the quinoa, besides the lower water ratio, is that you want to make sure that when you take the tofu, you want to press it down, just to make sure that you get it to stick. I don't have the mix on there, but you want it to stick, because when you put it in the oven or the air fryer, if it's not properly stuck to the tofu, it will just fall off and won't be really crusted. And from there, you'll place it in your oven. If you're putting it in the oven, it's about 450 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes. But you want to make sure that you flip them halfway through your cook time. And then if you're doing them in the air fryer, I believe you can do it at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. You also want to make sure that you flip that so you get a nice crust on both sides, instead of, you know, the bottom side being soggy and the top side having a nice crisp. Nobody wants that. And then from there, you'll get your quinoa crusted tofu. I have some here. You'll have a nice crunch to it. Just show you. So as you can see, you can hear that, it has a nice crust to it. We cut it open. Have that nice layer in between. Really great way that you can use this. You can use it as a replacement for a chicken sandwich. I have an example here of a nice Mediterranean style wrap. Has some cucumbers, some red onions, some zucchini, some arugula in there. And then I also have a coconut yogurt sauce with some fire roasted red peppers, mixed in with some coconut yogurt, some lime juice, some salt, and then some thyme. It's actually a really good wrap, just to make really easy. You can take it for lunch. You can eat it really quickly. They're working out, or several different ways. So yes, those are the dishes that we have provided for you today, and hope you guys enjoy it and use the recipe.
Thank you so much, Chef Rashad. That looks delicious. We hope we can come over for lunch later. I'm just kidding. Any questions for Lindsay or Rashad? I have two already that I'd like to ask from the Q&A. One person asked, are garbanzo beans the same as chickpeas?
Yes, they are. They are the exact same.
I'd like to know the origin though, as to why have garbanzo bean and why beans. That I don't know.
Other question here. One reason to go plant-based is environmental. However, this person has heard about things like soy being really bad for the environment, like water use. Any thoughts on that?
So the thing with soy is that it is a monocrop. They clear a lot of land to raise these crops. So it is, in that respect, it's, you know, not fantastic. But a lot of the soy that we get in terms of tofu, some of the soy milks, they are organic, and so they're probably grown differently. But I'm not an expert on the growing of soybeans, so those are just a couple of thoughts that I had. But tofu, tempeh, they are great whole foods that are really healthy for us. So definitely recommend them.
Great. Does the type of quinoa used in the demo matter for this recipe, Rashad?
Oh, no, it doesn't. I use tricolor quinoa because I feel it gives it a nice color. You know, you have the darker quinoas mixed in with the lighter ones. You can also use, you know, white quinoa as well. It works, just as long as you follow the same steps, make sure it doesn't hold too much water. It's perfectly fine to use white quinoa or however else you choose to do it.
Great, great. And what are some other ways to get protein in your diet if you cannot process soy or tofu or beans? Other suggestions?
Oh boy. Actually, I think with the recipes, I can send out a chart that has all sorts of different foods with the amounts of protein that they have in them. Most foods have some protein in them. So even things like broccoli, peanuts, almonds, quinoa, all of our whole grains, our oats, they do have protein in them. So as long as you're getting a variety of foods, and if you are really limited and you can't eat the soy foods or the beans, you might even want to consider perhaps supplementing with a protein powder. But I'll send out a list of the foods and their protein contents after the webinar.
And last question here, can you toast the quinoa first?
Sorry.
Can you toast the quinoa?
I actually have not tried it that way. I personally would not, just because you don't want it to be too dry. You don't want it to become a crumble before you have a chance to actually coat it and let it cook. It's a very strong possibility that it will just dry it out and also won't stick too well. I have not personally tried it that way.
And last question here that just came in for Chef Rashad. Do you dip the tofu in the flour first before the egg replacer and then the quinoa?
Yes, it does go in the flour or cornstarch or whichever you choose to use. It does go the flour first, then the egg replacer or the milk, and then the quinoa. It works the same as, dredging a piece of chicken or, anything like that. You want that two-step process. How I like to do it, use one hand for the flour, and then you use the next for the egg replacer and then into the quinoa. So it is that three-step process, all in three separate molds or plates or however you choose to do it.
Great. And before we move forward, just one question just came in is amino acids. I don't know what the question is. It's just as what about amino acids? So any thoughts on that?
So so I had mentioned earlier in the webinar that you don't need to do that food combining, which I think came about in the 1970s. So as long as you're getting a variety of foods throughout the day, you're going to get all the amino acids that you need. Even if, let's say, your brown rice doesn't have as much as something else throughout by the end of the day, you've got so many foods in you that you don't need to worry about, combining specific foods to make a complete protein.
Great. Thank you so much, Lindsay and Chef Rashad, for this wonderful presentation. Much appreciated. We'll be sharing the slides and the recipes with all of you. And there's some great resources in the chat for everyone to check out. So as a reminder, we continue Eat Well Bites. Next month will be on gut microbiomes. We also have our Eat Well meals, which I'll talk about shortly. Our cookbook should be ready very soon, so look for that. That will be electronic. Right now, we have our videos online and recipes for over 100 breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, and dessert ideas, as well as various guides on balanced eating on campus, at the Village, at Trader Joe's, and when you're conducting any meetings and events. And just hot off the press, to encourage you all to purchase Eat Well meals, Hospitality is offering an Eat Well promotion from April 7th through April 18th. So enjoy a delicious balanced Eat Well meal for a chance to earn Apple earbuds at UPC and HSC. Give it a try. I love the backyard salad at Seeds. It's so good and filling. And spread the word to your colleagues, and we'll drop in and also share a list of the Eat Well meals so you know where to go. And like I mentioned, stay tuned for May and June to wrap up our series, and we're hoping to continue in the next fiscal year. So with that, I'd like to say thank you. Please fill out our evaluation form. We love your feedback for future topics, and we will now hold the raffle and pick one lucky winner to receive an Amazon gift card. So I will have our intern Hannah share her screen and spin the wheel for the raffle. All right, thank you everyone for entering the raffle. And let's see who the lucky winner is. Kim Tabari, congratulations, Kim. We'll be in
Oh,
touch to coordinate.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day and happy Earth Month and enjoy your veggies and plant-based diets and meals. Thank you all.